Hi folks, welcome back to the shop here at Project Pine Hills. Today we're talking about this Jetbeam E26 Kunai flashlight. Now this is a 3-in-1 flashlight that has a white flashlight on the front, a UV light, and a green laser all in one flashlight. You can see it has a manual lockout mode and then the 3 light settings. So when it's on this lockout mode, if you press the center switch here, the light doesn't turn on. But if I rotate it over to the flashlight, press the button, the light turns on. If I hold that button down, it goes from low to medium to high and then turbo. There's no double tap for turbo. And hold it again, it goes back to low. Switch over to UV light. That's that UV light that'll show material up. You can see that logo there shining there on the bag. And then we have a class 3R green laser on here. You can see it pointing there on the bag. If I press the button, it turns it off. Now, there's a lot of these lights out right now. I know a lot of people are probably familiar with the Arkfeld Pro. ThruNite also has one of these 3-function flashlights, has a switch that's similar, and of course Wurkkos has one of these multi-function flashlights as well. We'll compare these flashlights here in a moment. So let's take a look around this flashlight. You can see it has a USB port here on the side. It's not covered. It's got a light here that shows you the charge status. So if I turn this flashlight on, you can see that green light comes on. So that lets you know if it's fully charged or needs to be recharged. It also has blue accents here on the tail end of the flashlight, and it has a tail switch. So that's how you can get immediately into turbo. So no matter what light setting you're on up here, like for example, right now I have this on the UV light, but if I press that tail switch, it'll immediately output turbo, that 1800 lumens of output that you can see there. And the tail switch has a couple of functions. I can momentarily press this tail switch and then let off and it turns off, or I can press this tail switch down until it clicks and then it stays on. Press it again, it'll turn off. So, and you can go into strobe mode by momentarily pressing once and letting off and holding it down a second time really quickly. So momentarily press and hold, we get that strobe mode, or momentarily press and then press it all the way in and we get strobe. Now, if you have this flashlight on and you turn the rotary switch, it will automatically keep those other lights on. There's the UV light. I can switch to the laser, you see that. So the light stays on as you're switching that rotary switch around until you go to lockout, and then it turns the light off. But if I turn that light back on, you can see it stays on as I go through those modes. And of course, if I hit that tail switch, it will override the mode immediately, output turbo. When I turn it off, it turns off, and so does the light that you have on at the time. And the flashlight does have a clip here on the back, and it's got a loop here for a lanyard. Now, even though it has this tail switch on the back, you can still tail stand the flashlight. Now you notice on the front of this flashlight, there's 4 ceramic beads in each corner of the flashlight, and that's designed to allow you to break glass. Now it comes in 3 colors, green, black, and orange. This one's black, what they call carbon black. So it's got a little different color shade than say the Arkfeld, for example. I don't know if you can see that there, but just trying to show the variance in color. But now this has an IPX68 rating, which means it's waterproof. So even though this USB port is not covered, it's still sealed, and this flashlight is rated as waterproof. Now there's a few of these flashlights on the market, right? I think a lot of folks are familiar with the Arkfeld Pro. This is the ThruNite flashlight we talked about recently. Here's a Wurkkos flashlight, the HD01 Pro. And all of these lights are multi-function flashlights, square style flashlights. They all have different UIs. You can see that the Arkfeld and the ThruNite have a similar rotary UI that's like the one on the Jetbeam. So it's a rotary style switch. A lot of people will like that. The Arkfeld doesn't have the lockout feature on the rotary switch. If you want to lock out this Arkfeld, you just press and hold the center button. The light flashes and then goes off, and now it's in lockout. Of course, that just means the light won't turn on when it's in your pocket. Here you can see it beside the Arkfeld and the ThruNite, so you get an idea of the size. It's a similar size, a little bit longer. I think part of that's because of the tail switch. It does have a little bit larger battery. Both these flashlights here have 1500 milliamp hour batteries. This one's got a 1700 milliamp hour battery, so a little more capacity in the battery. If you look at the laser here of the Jetbeam on the left and the Arkfeld on the right, you probably can't see that, but the Arkfeld does show up a little bit brighter, and the same is true of the ThruNite. If I grab this ThruNite, you can see it's a little bit brighter too. Again, I don't know if you can actually see that or not. Now this has a class 3A laser and this has a class 3R. Arkfeld also has a class 3R. I don't know if that's the difference or not, but the laser does show up a little bit brighter on the Arkfeld and the ThruNite. Now both these lights can magnetically attach, which means you can mount these lights. You can see they both hold there at 90 degrees, or you can even hang them upside down. So you do have that feature with these flashlights that you don't get with the Jetbeam, but the Jetbeam does have that tail switch. So, you know, if you're looking for a tail switch and a higher lumen output, the Arkfeld outputs 1300 lumens, the ThruNite outputs 1600 lumens. So you get a little higher lumen output at 1800 lumens with this Jetbeam. So that's one of the differences there. So you have that higher output, you have that tail switch access to turbo. Those are a couple things. So if you want a tail switch on the flashlight and you like that manual lockout mode on there and a little bit larger battery and that break glass scenario and USB-C charging, I can see why those are some of the reasons you want to go with that Jetbeam flashlight. So just an excellent light there from Jetbeam. Now when it comes to the controls in these flashlights, I do really like the Wurkkos. There's just something about this 2-button UI versus a rotary switch that I like. I think part of it has to do with the fact you can get immediately into the laser, you know, and immediately into the flashlight. Just something I really like about that. It's just simple, and you always know exactly, you're not turning a rotary switch, you're just immediately pressing a button for laser or flashlight. It also has the side light, which is a plus. I do like that. Let's take a quick look at what comes in the box. You can see it comes in a nice box that magnetically closes, but if we open it up, of course we get the paperwork here, it has all the specs in it. If you're interested in all the light modes and run times, you can pause the video and check that out. But you see here in the bottom of the box, you just pull out this piece. It comes with a Jetbeam lanyard. Nice they include that. And it also comes with a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. So there you have it, folks. Just a quick look at the Jetbeam E26 flashlight. I think it's an excellent quality. I think really if you're looking for just a good multifunction flashlight with a tail switch, you like having the lockout on the rotary switch, I think that this Jetbeam's a great way to go. I'll have a link to this in the description below. Let me know in the comments what you think of this flashlight. Have you used this Jetbeam, or do you use one of the other flashlights? And please remember to like and subscribe. All those actions help me to continue to bring content to you here on the Project Pioneers channel. And with that said, I'll catch you in the next video.